viewers, welcome to the session on presentation skills. Well, we are living in this competitive society, enormous competitive society, rat race. And unless you present yourself confidently and successfully in terms of maybe job interviews, workplace presentations, right, professional presentations, you'll not be considered as successful, or you will not be rated as one of the best employees, or one of the best students, or one of the best interviewees, right? So let's go and see what goes into this presentation skills today, and why is it important, how to do that properly, maybe before the presentation, during the presentation, after the presentation, what preparation, what planning should go into it, and how to do that in an appropriate manner, in a presentable and in a pleasing manner. Let's go and see these things in this presentation. Shall we? Here we go. Presentation skills can be defined as a set of abilities that enable an individual to interact with the audience, transmit the messages with clarity, engage the audience in the presentation, and interpret and understand the mindsets of the listeners. Well, though the definition or the meaning of this term presentation skills looks, though it looks a bit lengthy, but it is very meaningful and very appropriate. Okay, it is a set of abilities that enable an individual, okay, to interact with the audience, to communicate, to interact with the audience, to transmit the message, to send the message across, transmitting the messages with clarity, with precision, okay, with unity, coherence, balance, and engage the audience in the presentation, right? Hold the audience in the presentation. That's the reason some of the speakers, they keep saying, "Are you with me? Are you there?" is what they keep asking, during the course of the presentation, right? And interpret and understand the mindset of the listeners. So a true presentation interpretation here is nothing but understanding, or analyzing and understanding the mindsets of the listeners. What are their mindsets? What is required actually, for them? What needs, what requirements, what demands? How to present that in an understandable manner, appropriate manner, useful and resourceful manner, so that the viewers, the listeners, are benefited by the presentation. Okay. These skills refine the way you put forward your messages and enhance your persuasive powers. What do you mean by this? Well, the skills of presentation, they refine the way, okay, we put forward our messages and enhance our persuasive powers. Well, the meaning of persuasion is nothing but influencing, impacting. That is persuasion. We have got three kinds of persuasion. We studied this at our, MPhil level, right? And the persuasion is, the first one is logos, okay? And the second one is pathos. And the third one is ethos. We studied this in the art of rhetoric at our MPhil, program at that level. The art of rhetoric is nothing but the art of speaking. The art of speech is rhetoric. Rhema is word, by the way. So logos, different speakers use different kinds of logical reasoning, right? Logical reasoning in their speech. They bring some logical points to, validate, to support their view of arguments. And the other type of persuasion is pathos, meaning emotionally influencing the listeners, emotionally impacting the audience is pathos. And the last one is ethos. Ethos is nothing but ethics, morals, values, based on the character of the presenter, based on the approach and attitude of the presenter, based on his values, morals, leaders, speakers, presenters, they influence and impact the audience. Okay, fine. The present era places great emphasis on good presentation skills. It places, very, very great emphasis. It emphasizes, it reiterates, it showcases the importance of very, very efficient and effective presentation skills. This is because they play an important role in convincing the clients and customers. Tomorrow you join a workplace, right? You're supposed to convince the customer. For example, we get several calls about personal loans. We get several calls about insurance policies. When the insurance agent or when the loan provider comes to you, he is doing a presentation there in front of you. So the presentation that he does in front of you, that will determine your decision of whether going for that insurance policy or not, or applying for the personal loan or not. You see? So therefore, for us to be saleable, I repeat the word saleable, SALEABLE. For we to be saleable, or we need to sell ourselves confidently, properly, and successfully, because this is a competitive society. This is a rat race. Okay, so presentation skills plays very, very key role and pivotal role to convince the clients, to convince the customers. All right. Internally, management with good presentation skills is better able to communicate the mission and vision of the organization to the employees. For example, within an organization, okay, the organization tries its best to present the vision and mission of the organization to their employees, to its employees, so that the employees work in line, on par with that vision and mission of the organization. All right. Okay. Let me take you to the rest of the slides, the rest of the preparation, planning, and presentation aspects in our video lecture today. That is presentation skills. Okay. So let's have a checklist, presentation checklist. Of course, this is under the main topic, soft skills and interpersonal communication, is what we are studying all these things, what we are discussing all these things. But these are immensely and richly beneficial to all the students, right, across the streams, and to all the even employees in their workplace, okay, for effective and efficient presentations. What is this presentation checklist and what to do before? Rather, I would add the word during and after the delivery of the presentation, because yes, before and after is what I'm going to highlight, but not to forget what to do during the course of presentation, which is extremely and equally important. Okay. Before you give a presentation, you might want to work through this checklist to make sure you have not missed anything. Right? So before we submit an application, we generally do the checklist and then submit the application form. Maybe for a job, maybe for a course, okay? Maybe for a course that we apply for. Similarly, in the same fashion, this presentation skills checklist will enable you, empower you, enlighten you, and enrich you to do the presentation confidently and successfully without missing out on anything. Okay, fine. So first of all, the primary thing, the basic and essential thing, the fundamental thing here is, what is the purpose of this presentation? What is the main purpose of this presentation is what you need to analyze, what you need to, introspect. And that's where I have brought those questions, all those WH questions about who are the audience that you are going to, speak to. What is the level of their knowledge? What are their expectations, right? I'm one of the resource persons of Oxford University Press. I deliver several lectures, conduct workshops for teachers of English and teachers of other subjects on, motivation, classroom management, English language communication skills, so on and so forth. I've also done, one of the webinars. I did one of the webinars last year, 2020, right? And the topic of the webinar is Grammar, a Game Changer. This is conducted by, again, Oxford University Press. That is available online. You can type it out and you can check it out. Well, the reason for I say about these things is, as a resource person, as a presenter, I have checked this. I have prepared myself, 10 times before I face the audience about who those audience are. What are their needs, requirements, and demands? What is that they'll be expecting from the resource person, from the presenter? right? So that they are not dissatisfied at the end of the presentation. And where to introduce, some of the videos, some of the jokes, JAQ, jokes, anecdotes, and quotations, because quotations are very powerful. That is the reason in engineering colleges you see lots and lots of quotations on the walls, right, on the pedestals of the engineering colleges. Why? Quotations have the power to speak to, the reader, Okay, so what jokes, what anecdotes, what quotations to be used in the presentation? Where to be formal and where to be informal? Of course, the entire presentation is formal, but at times you can also be informal in terms of explanation, in terms of some of the difficult words that are to be explained to the audience, to the listeners. Okay, when to introduce a particular graph or diagram or flow chart, right? When to introduce that, because a Chinese proverb says a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And for engineering students, diagrams are extremely important. And why is that the entire presentation is being done? What is the objective? What is the goal, the outcome of that that presentation? What is expected from the resource person? What is expected from the audience and the listeners? And how should it be done? How should it be done? Before, how, what, where, when, why, and during the presentation, who, what, where, when, why, and how, and after the presentation, who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay, the 6 language guiding factors. What is the purpose of this presentation? You need to, check. I need to check myself, right, before I start it, before I do that. What is the end goal? What is the end result, outcome of that? What would you consider a successful outcome, right? Feedback. What feedback can I expect? Review, remarks, how to further improve it in a better fashion. All these things should be very carefully weighed and analyzed before doing the presentation. All right. Okay. Well, presentation preparation. I like those 3 P's that are mentioned on the slide there: planning, preparing, and presenting. See, without proper planning and preparing, the presentation will not be very effective, very efficient. Poor planning, poor preparation, that would result in very poor presentation, right? That might not be very useful, very resourceful, and very meaningful, neither to the presenter nor to the audience or viewers. Okay, so what is this presentation preparation? What goes into that? Check how long your presentation slot is. What is the duration of the presentation? That is something very, very important, because see, in presentations, speed and accuracy both are important. It is almost like a competitive examination. What sort of tempo do you need to maintain from the beginning till the end? For example, now I'm doing this presentation in front of this camera in IARE YouTube, in front of all of you, right? So I have to double check the slot time that is given to me. What is the start time? What is the end time? Otherwise, we may miss out on some of the important things. Otherwise, that might not be a smooth ride. That might not be a very smooth journey, during the course of your presentation. So check how long is the presentation slot, how long the presentation slot is. Check that your presentation does not overrun on time, because that should not be also overboring, too long. That's also not good. Rehearse your presentation to friends or colleagues. See, this kind of rehearsal is a wonderful rehearsal. We did this at our B.Ed level, Bachelor of Education level, whenever we had lesson plans to be presented in front of our, teachers, in front of our professors. So we always used to do this rehearsal of presentations in front of our friends or colleagues, so that what is the introduction, what goes into the middle part of it, what is the conclusion, what is the recapitulation, okay, where does the eliciting comes, eliciting meaning asking questions, okay, responding to questions. All these things have to be properly rehearsed, pre-planned. Okay, fine. And friends and colleagues are the best people with whom you can rehearse that presentation, so that you can take their views, ideas, opinions, their corrections, right, and implement them, execute them, and incorporate them in the final presentation. Okay, rehearse your presentation using virtual reality to reduce nerves. What is this virtual reality? What is this virtual reality? Well, Virtual reality is actually recording yourself on a camera. That is virtual reality. Maybe on a mobile phone, you can record your start time, end time, body language, confidence in the speech, sentence construction. Okay, your grammar part of it, pronunciation aspect, most importantly, spellings that you write on the digital board or on the main board. All these things, right? Your content knowledge, sufficient content knowledge, all those areas, okay, have to be definitely rehearsed, so that you can reduce the nerves, you can reduce, your panic situations. Rather, you can avoid those panic situations so that you can present yourself confidently, boldly, and successfully in front of the audience and listeners. Okay. Prepare speaker notes or cue cards. Preparation of speaker notes is something important. Be ready with your speaker notes, right? Because it's always good to have your notes. Wherever, if you miss out on some point, there's nothing wrong in going there with your notes prepared. Nothing wrong in that. You can always cross check. You can always go back to those quotations, formulas, diagrams, important areas. Nothing wrong in that. Nothing wrong in that. Chronological sequence, logical sequence. All those things have to be jotted down. Prepare the notes or cue cards. Take a presentation training course to improve your skills. There are many training programs that are being offered for presentation skills, online, offline, several training programs. If you feel like taking that training, go for the training. Nothing wrong in that. But what I suggest is always speak to the senior persons. I have always spoken to the senior people who advised me on several areas. You see, one of the seniors used to tell me, one of the senior presenters used to tell me, the end should always be with a bang. He used to say this. Your end should be with a bang. A wide reader, voracious reader, and avid reader, who did several presentations. So that's what he says. And he talks about jokes, anecdotes, quotations, maths, methods, approaches, and techniques, right? Several wonderful, interesting quotations. So always speak to the seniors, teachers who did presentations. Take their valuable and precious suggestions so that your presentation is really effective and efficient. All right. Think about where to breathe and pause. So breathing in between, pauses in between. Think about that. That's definitely important. Okay. Number your notes in case you drop them. That number, right? Sequence, logical or chronological sequence. Very, very important. Ensure your introduction explains your objectives and grabs the audience attention. See, first impression is the best impression. The introduction part itself, that should actually explain the objectives, right? The outcomes and objectives of the presentation. And that should actually capture the attention of the audience, grab the attention of the audience. They should feel like, wow, we can look forward to a wonderful presentation. We can definitely look forward to a resourceful and a very, very, thought-provoking, brainstorming, innovative presentation. That should be the signals that you should be sending to your audience at the very beginning stage. Right. Okay, great. Fantastic. Marvelous. Clearly define the points of the presentation. Define the points of presentation. What is that you are actually going to throw light on? What is that you are going to actually explain about? So that, the audience are crystal clear about the presentation. The way they can write the notes, the questions that they can ask, right? All those things, you can mentally prepare them before you start your presentation, right? Check the main points are in logical order and flow well. The main points, okay, points of discussion, those things should be in a logical order. Chronological order, logical sequence, chronological sequence. Chronological is time, actually. Or logical sequence is like which is first, which is next, which is at the end. That logical sequence where there is unity, coherence, balance throughout. It should not be something like, sudden speed breakers in between and then sudden bumpy ride. No, it should not be something like a very smooth ride from the beginning till the end. It should be like a waterfalls, right? You imagine a waterfalls. Do you see any jerks there? No, it's very smooth flowing. Your presentation also should be something like a cascade. Cascade meaning waterfall. CASCADE. Okay, right. Now, the conclusion should be clear, concise, and tie with the introduction. Meaning the end part should be very, very clear. The summation in a nutshell or in a capsule, that should be very clear. That should be very precise and brief. Okay. That should always be tied with the introduction part of it. It should completely bring it to a comprehensive close, so that each point that is discussed in the introduction, main points, is properly, explained in terms of, maybe I usually go for a takeaway slide at the end of my presentations. I always write your takeaway. What is your takeaway in this presentation? So likewise, your summation, you cannot conclude any topic. You can summate it, okay, in a nutshell or in a capsule. Okay. Make sure you are knowledgeable about the topic you are presenting. See, preparation in terms of the topic is something very, very important. Never ever compromise in terms of, preparation related to the topic. I used to read, several books, most importantly when it comes to motivational workshops, classroom management workshops, communication skills workshops. You need to be a wide reader. You need to have that patience, because great readers are great leaders. So great readers are not just great leaders, they're great presenters, effective and efficient presenters. Because, from the books you learn a lot. The style of, different presenters, the words that they use, their techniques and tips, right? And their viewpoints, all those things, right? Great. So that is all about presentation preparation. Let me take you to the rest of the slides in this, presentation skills video lecture. Presentation slides. What are they? Well, keep slide designs. Generally, most of the presentations are PowerPoint presentations. All of us know that. Students, employees, everywhere. Keep slide designs simple and concise, precise, brief, right? Use minimal text and high quality pictures. Don't clutter the slide with too much of notes. Keep the text to the minimum, and then use high quality pictures, because a Chinese proverb says a picture is worth 1,000 words. So whatever graphs that you use there, whatever flow charts, whatever, tables that you use there, let them be very, very clear, very, very attractive. Use different colors, if necessary, for different, figures and for different data, right? Okay. Make sure there are no grammar or spelling errors on the presentation slide. This is again very, very crucial, right? Some of the spelling mistakes should not be avoided, should not be, neglected. Be careful about the spelling mistakes, spelling errors. Double check it for grammar mistakes, grammar checks. Check facts you display and make sure you can back them up. See, whenever you give a particular percentage of data, right, most important figures, cross-check them before you back them up, right? Without cross-checking, without properly studying, don't present those figures and facts there. If appropriate, post slides to the web, include URL at the end of the talk, right? You can also post those slides on the, to the World Wide Web, www. You can also give your URL at the end of the talk, right? So that they can always visit that URL. Save your presentation onto two different formats, USB, cloud storage. You say it all depends, right? It is always good to save them on USB and cloud storage. Send it to your email IDs. If the hard disk or if the pen drive doesn't work, emails are always safer. Google Mails are always safer, so that you can always download your presentations from those mails. Of course, we have been doing all these things, but it's a sort of rechecking. It's a sort of precautionary measures to do the presentation properly and successfully. Okay, great. Confirmed that the audio visual equipment you require will be in the room. So audio visual equipment, what speakers do you need, right? And what sort of screen? Are you playing some videos there? Does it have any music also included in that? So audio visual equipment should be properly checked. Ensure you practice with your presentation slides to get the correct timings. So always when you go for the rehearsal of the presentation, how many number of slides? What is the time slot? What time do you start? What time do you end? Always go for the practice with the presentation slides so that the timings are accurate. There are no problems with the timings. Starting early, ending too early, or ending too late, to avoid all those things. isn't it? Okay, great. Visual aids and handouts. What are these visual aids? I'm talking about worksheets. By the word handouts, I'm talking about worksheets that you prepare, maybe for a brief, live survey there. Okay. Action research. If you are conducting any action research there, what sort of worksheets have you prepared, to be done over there? Okay. What visual aids? What images? What pictures? Right? Check the visual aids are easy to read and understand, especially, the font size. Is it readable? Is it understandable by the audience? Check it, double check it. Make sure they tie into the points you are trying to communicate. That should be actually properly, woven to the points, weave them to the points that you are trying to communicate. Ensure they can be easily seen from all areas of the room. Right? It should not be something like the right side of the right side audience are not able to see that font properly, or the left side of the audience, or people sitting at the back. Most importantly, the font size is not clear, the diagrams are not properly visible. All these things should be properly checked before the presentation. Okay, and then prepare any handout you want to give out and proofread them. Worksheets, handouts, prepare them, proofread it. Right? That should not confuse them. That should actually convince the audience. Make sure you have sufficient handouts. Lesser number of handouts, people shouting, raising their hands. Sir, I did not get. Sir, she did not get. Sir, that should not be there. Rather go for maybe 5 or 10 extra handouts, extra worksheets, so that the presentation is very softer and smoother. Right. Double check the visual aids are working, especially if it's a demonstration. Visual aids should be properly checked. At times, the software is not compatible with the software that is available there in that CPU, in that desktop, in that laptop. You might take your hard disk, but your hard disk is not compatible with the other software. All these things, double check, cross check, right? So that's all about visual aids and worksheets or handouts in our presentation skills. Let us go and see the rest of the slides in our presentation. Audience analysis. How to analyze the audience, how to interpret, how to discern the audience. Think about who will be in the audience. Who are the audience? Are they teachers? Are they students? Who are they? Determine if there will be decision makers. Right? Think about their knowledge of the topic. How knowledgeable, are they? Right? Think about if the native language is the same language as the presentation, or is it a different language? Okay, especially if the people are from different nationalities, Japanese, Chinese, right? Who are not very proficient in English. Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, South Asian countries. So if the native language is not the same as the presentation, because generally presentation language is English language. So if their native language is not the presentation language, you need to be also very careful about the pronunciation aspects, spellings that you write there, your explanation part of it. Because I did this in EFL University. I worked in the English and Foreign Languages University for more than a decade. So there, when we taught these international participants who come from different countries and different, nations, especially Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, China, Japan, their native language is not English. So we need to be very careful about our pronunciation part of it. Most about the explanation part of it. We cannot take them for granted. Spellings part of it. All right? Okay. Check if the organizer can provide a rough demographic. See, the person who is organizing that workshop or the presentation or that interview, always check with him whether a rough demographic is available. I mean, in terms of, the size of the room, in terms of the audience, number of audience, okay, audiovisual equipment that is available, time that is provided, other speakers, all those things. Demographic is that. The picture, overall picture, a bird's eye view of the whole presentation. Okay? Right. Audience questions, audience queries. Think about possible questions you will be asked and have spare slides to address them. Always think about the expected questions at the end of the presentation. What sort of questions are expected? And always have spare slides, to address them. When I did this, Grammar a Game Changer Oxford University Press webinar last year, on June 20th, I did this. So I was very particular about the kind of questions that will be asked at the end of the presentation. I was rather more worried about the other experts who might attend that webinar, especially if they are any of our professors. If they, what sort of questions will they ask? What sort of answers should I be ready with? So I was, reading and reading and reading a lot, equipping myself, preparing myself to face those questions confidently and successfully. So therefore, hence your, preparation in terms of expected questions is something very, very important. Decide how long you will leave for questions at the end, right? What is the time that is given? What is the time allocated, earmarked for, that question answer session? That should be decided beforehand. Decide if you want to specify areas you are willing to answer questions on. You can also tell them, maybe based on the presentation, ask me questions on these particular areas, because so that the questions are not, out of the track, so that the questions are related to the presentation, okay, in line, on par with the presentation. All right. So this is something very, very important. Audience questions. Be careful about that in your presentation skills. Right. Let me take you to the next slide. Other speakers at the event. Who are the other speakers? Who are expected there at the event. You have found out who else will be speaking at and what they will be speaking about. What is their topic? What is it they are addressing about? It's always good to find out, so that the entire presentation, entire workshop, entire training program is interconnected, intertwined, interlinked, so that it is not disconnected, disjointed, disconnected. It should not be something like that, right? Check if other speaker topics are related to yours. Check if someone else will introduce you, or if you need to do it yourself. Is it a self-introduction that you are going to do there, or whether someone else is going to introduce you? Also, that you need to find it out. You also need to send your brief profile about yourself, maybe about your awards, rewards, achievements, academic profile, professional profile, experience, your degrees, right? Achievements, all those things. Determine whether you will be presenting alone or you are as part of a group. Is it a solo presentation, or you are going to do it maybe with the other 2 or 3 other speakers? So that also needs to be found out before the presentation. All right. I'm sure all these tips and techniques are very, very useful and important for all of our viewers. Now, location and type of event. What is the location? Where is the location? And what type of event is it? That should be properly found out. Check the location and type of event. Check the floor, room, and location of the event. Find a contact person's email or number in case you are running late. See, don't go there. This is another one of the problems that are encountered by most of the presenters, maybe because of traffic jams, traffic gridlocks. If you are running late, always have the contact person of the or email of the person who is organizing the workshop, or main contact person, so that things are taken care of. So that he will take care of the audience there, listeners there. He will tell them that yes, the presenter is on the way. So please wait for some time. That kind of instructions can be and will be given beforehand to the audience, to the viewers, to the listeners, so that there is no sort of gap in that area. All right. Get directions to the venue, including parking vouchers if required. What directions do you require? Okay. Where to park your vehicle, vouchers and other things. Try to find last year's programs to determine the style of the event. What was the style of the program last year? How did it progress? So that needs to be found out properly. Check if there are reviews of the event on blogs or social media. What reviews are available about? Especially when we attended conferences such as British Council conferences. This was conducted in Novotel, Hyderabad International Convention Center. So, that kind of very big programs, if you are one of the presenters there, maybe in the main panel or in the sub panels, one needs to check all these things beforehand. So, the information that are available on blogs, on the social media has to be properly checked out. Okay, check the type of event. Is it an industry event where you are expected to address professionals? Is it a seminar for aspiring leaders looking for inspiration and motivation? What type of event is that? What is expected from you? Is it for professionals in a sort of industry, or is it for budding, aspiring leaders in terms of inspiration and motivation? That should be properly checked out. Check the style of presenting you will be doing, indoors, outdoors, standing, sitting, the format of that, the template of that. Understand the size and layout of the room. Okay, you will be presenting in your appearance. What is the size of the room? What is the layout of the room? It should be properly, analyzed beforehand, checked out beforehand. Make sure you are dressed and groomed appropriately and aligned with the audience's expectations. You are dressing, the way you have groomed yourself, that should be appropriate. That should be presentable. That should be, relevant and appropriate to the conference or the presentation, and it is aligned with the audience's expectations. Right. First impressions are very, very important for credibility, meaning for audience to trust you, for viewers to trust you. That first impressions are very, very important. Maintain a polished and professional look throughout the presentation. Polished look and professional look. Maybe a sleek suit, polished shoes, right? Well shaved, all right. Your hair well groomed. Men, most importantly, the color of the dress and other things. Ladies, in terms of makeup, all those things should be properly taken care of. Practice your speech, paying close attention to your body language and posture, both of which will be assessed by the audience. So your presentation should be on par, in line with your body language, right? Your intonation, modulation of voice, diction, rhythm, your facial expressions, eye contact, nodding, frowning, smile, shoulders, the way you use your shoulders, fingers, hands, all that should be, properly balanced and properly matching. That should tally. It should not be something like there is no tally, in terms of his presentation is different and his body language is different. It should not be something like that. Okay. Decided what to wear the day before. The dress that needs to be, that needs to be worn. You need to decide it before the day. As a rule of thumb, dress slightly better than your audience members. So dress neatly and properly, effectively, much better than your audience members. So that's all about location and type of event, the kinds of things that you need to checklist before you do your presentation. Okay. On the morning of the event, right? That's a big day. People generally say, racehorse ready for the big day. So on the morning of the event, eat a good breakfast to give you energy on stage. Have good calories, good protein to give you energy on stage. You need to walk, you need to shout, you need to smile, you need to laugh, right? You need to do lots of worksheets, all that. You are the performer on that day. Therefore, eat good breakfast. Get some light exercise in if required. Check your laptop is properly charged. This is again very, very important if you are using your laptop. Proper charging of the laptop. Check you have your slides ready on your laptop in a sequence, logical, chronological sequence. Avoid unnecessary stress by getting to the venue early, right? If you're a person who gets unnecessarily stressed by going there early, by talking to them, someone distracts your mood, deviates your mood, don't do that. Rather, I'm a kind of person who never speak to anybody before my presentation. I'm very calm and composed whenever I do my presentation. I just focus on whatever I have prepared and then, complete the presentation properly and effectively. Then maybe after the end of the presentation, I will get into all the, fun and celebration, bursting into laughter, cracking jokes, so on and so forth. Right. Bring with you what to bring with you to the event. What are the things that are to be taken care of to bring to the event along with you? Most importantly, job interviews, professional presentations, right? This presentation is not only for, professional presentations, but also for your job interviews. Bring with you to the event bottle of water in case your throat goes dry, right? Always have maybe a small bottle, your laptop and any necessary cables, maybe a power cable or power bank if necessary. Backup slides on a USB or hard drive. This is something very important. In case there is no internet connectivity there, you should always have it on your hard disk so that can be connected and done happily and easily. A remote to control your slides if required, right? Remote control. Extension cord if required. At times you see the cables are not very lengthy. So it's always good to cross check about the, extension cords, about the those extension cords which are very, very important, so that there are no problems in terms of your presentation, right? In terms of your arrangement there of all the IT equipment, that your IT paraphernalia, laptop, hard disks, your speakers and other things. Okay, spike boards if necessary. Yes. Any physical demo, handouts or other visual handouts, visual aids if required, all those things have to be properly checked and to bring them to the event. Worksheets. Your presentation notes are cue cards. Are you ready with the presentation notes, quotations, examples, sequence of events, right? Important areas, anything, theories, formulas, derivations, equations, diagrams if necessary, all that. Okay. Now at the event, what to do at the event? Register and let the organizer know you have arrived, right? Otherwise, the organizer might not know. He might be still thinking that you are still on the way, or you have not attended the conference or the presentation area. Find your room and watch another speaker present. Okay, if time allows, mingle and meet people who might be in your audience. So try to just talk to them, say hello, hi. Not a very lengthy discussion there, but at least saying hi and hello. Right? Return to the room before you finishes. So always be there in advance before the previous speaker finishes it, so that you can always take over without wasting time there. All right. Get your laptop hooked up to projector immediately. Most problems occur here. See, the moment you go there, get it charged. Keep it under charge mode, so that there are no problems about the battery charging. Right. Test your slides. Even power problems also need to be checked, whether they have the generator facility and other things. Test your slides and any videos. Walk around on stage and get comfortable with the room. Familiarize yourself with the room. Adapt yourself, adjust. Make yourself compatible with the audience, with the atmosphere, room, environments, everything. Run through the first couple of minutes of your presentation. Right. Just see. Just run through what is that you are going to do there. There is not, because you should be always kind of filled by that presentation thoughts, before you do the presentation. Make sure you have a bottle of water with you. Sit in the back row and make sure your text is readable. Always check, go sit there in the last row and see whether the slide pictures, font and letters are readable, to the audience or not. Make sure that it's readable to the audience. If you're nervous, right, if you press panic buttons, if you have that phobia, distract yourself by going for maybe a walk. Just walk up and down. Okay, maybe take a deep breath. All right. I would like to give one very beautiful example here, wonderful example here. I was doing the presentation in Kerala in one of the hotels there. This is on motivation and classroom management, and the organizer who was supposed to, talk about the entire conference that he's supposed to conduct, he was very tense there. So in between, when I got the break, I went to him and I told him, just relax, take a deep breath. You are the organizer, you have all the notes with you, right? All that you are supposed to do is present it properly, clearly and confidently to the audience. You have your notes there, you have all the slides there, videos even if required. So why are you tensed unnecessarily? I don't know why some of them, they get tensed unnecessarily. Never ever do that. You will spoil your entire presentation. Be calm, composed. You are ready with your preparation. You will do it definitely, confidently and successfully. Believe in yourself and go, do that wonderful presentation. Right. Okay. If you are nervous, that is done. Turn your mobile on silent mode. This is again very, very important. Mobile phone is a big distractor, especially during presentations. So always ensure that it is turned on, airplane mode. It is put on airplane mode or silent mode, so that there are no distractions, deviations. By seeing somebody's call there, your mind might get distracted. You might forget points there, to avoid all this, so that you don't mess up things there. Right? Okay, great. Now, after the event, what to be done after the event? This is the last slide of this presentation. Make yourself visible so people can find you to ask questions about your talk, right? So, be there. Don't run away after the presentation. Be available to them so that you can answer their questions, because they might be having doubts about the slides that are shown, points that are discussed, facts that are presented there. So be available there. Write questions from attendees on their business cards so you can answer in email later. Assume you don't have time there so that the next presenter is ready. All that you can do is ask them to write their question on the reverse of their business card, their visiting card, so that maybe after a day or a couple of days, you can always respond to them by email, right? Because they'll be waiting enthusiastically, desperately, anxiously, and eagerly for your answer. Post slides online or to slide share if appropriate. It's always good to also share those slides online, make those slides available to all of them. Email people who gave you their cards answering their questions. Thank the organizer and ask for any feedback, review, remarks. It's always important to thank the organizer, properly. Okay, being grateful, being thankful to him is definitely important, because after all, he's the one who gave you that platform, that opportunity to speak to the audience. And last but not the least, if your talk was filmed, ask for a copy so you can learn from it. If they video shooted your presentation, if they filmed your presentation, always ask for a copy of that so that you can go back, sit back, relax, and watch your presentation. See for any mistakes here and there. See for any bottlenecks, and see for any sort of problems here and there, so that you can always improve your presentation next time when you face the audience. You can always overcome those problems that were encountered in the previous presentation by watching the video shooted or watching the filmed presentation. So viewers, that's all I have for you today in this presentation on presentation skills. Your takeaway here is, we have discussed what to do before and after the presentation. What is the purpose of presentation? Well, it is to educate the audience. It is to do professional presentations, maybe if it is industry, or to inspire, motivate if it is budding leaders. What is the presentation preparation? What are the visual aids and handouts that are required? We have seen audience analysis. We have also seen audience questions, right? And other speakers at the event. Okay, what to bring with you to the event, and what to do at the event, on the day of the event, and what to do after the event. So these are the areas we have discussed in this session. I hope the video lecture on presentation skills has been useful, meaningful, and resourceful to all our viewers. Keep watching IARE YouTube. I'm Sunil Solomon Philip. Thank you for watching this presentation. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.